Can I use this?
Yes.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Is it okay?
It's okay.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Henrik Andersen. I'm from the European Environment Agency, and I'm going to give you a very quick example of how we are, in fact, in the context of Copernicus, trying to use data, INSPIRE compliant data. And I'm going to be quite quick. I hope we will save some time for questions and discussion. So yeah, let's move on. I have to say that what I'm going to present now is actually some work carried out by one of our contractors, and Alejandro is actually here and representing Geographics, who did most of the work. So Alejandro will take care of the technical parts, and I will do the rest. So let's get started. So, I mean, the use case here is clear. The use case is clear, and when we talk about Copernicus and we talk about Europe, we need pan-European solutions. So the use case is clear. We would like to get data sets that cover the whole of Europe. I mean, that's clear, and of course we need to look to INSPIRE for that. I mean, the whole idea is to have some data that we can put together and create these pan-European data sets. And we will try to do that. So the use case is clear. We need data all over Europe for production and validation purposes when we talk about Copernicus. So, of course, we can benefit from Copernicus. We have tried then and say, okay, let's start somewhere. And we started by having a look at the Annex 1 data, the administrative units, very simple use case, and okay, let's see how it went. So it is also clear that when we work with these data, and you will see that we have not covered all of Europe. We are facing problems. Alejandro will tell you about that. But it is clear that we greatly benefit from these data. So when we get data, when we actually get data that are INSPIRE compliant, we greatly benefit from that. It makes our life easier, no question about that. So I think it's time for you now.
Yes, I'm going to be very fast as well because I think it's very interesting then the discussion after. I'm going to talk about two main points of view of the data. One is the issues or the challenges that we have accessing the data, and the other is once we have the data, what are the challenges. The main challenge that we have is the availability of the data. Out of the whole Europe, we only got data sets from 20 countries. This study was made in spring this year, but recently we tried to update it, but there is no more information available. There are a couple of countries with fees, so the data, it is there, but we didn't use it. But I have to say, because now we are doing another similar study for Copernicus Emergency Services with hydrography, and despite the complexity of INSPIRE, once the member states or dataset get the full compliance with INSPIRE, it is very easy because you get the data, from the data you get the service, from the service you can get the metadata, you can go to the download and you can access the information. And it's quite complex to, to close the circle, but once it's closed, really the information flows and everything is easier. So this. Okay, what are the challenges that we have to solve when accessing the data? First are the authentication systems. For many different reasons, before downloading the data, you have to authenticate, okay? And we were commenting yesterday that is very useful for, I mean, not useful, that can be fine for a citizen that goes there, register, they authenticate, they go, they click that, they download. But it's not useful for a professional use of the data because you cannot be registering and authenticating with different systems in all the countries or all the institutions. The same happens with the web applications. We have a web application here, very nice. You go, you click the administrative unit that you want, and then you click and you download it one by one. Only Spain has 8,000 municipalities. It could mean that we have to download and click, 8,000, 2 times, 16,000 times just to download the data. Again, very useful when you need one administrative unit. When you need something more professional, these web applications are not easy to do automations. But even if you have the direct download, you can have that direct download from FTP, Atom, a direct link. Sometimes the link comes through an email. Again, each country is different, and you have to go one by one. And when there is not a direct link or direct download, and there is the WFS, each WFS is different as well. So sometimes you have to develop a special application to download the information because of different issues. Yes, this one. Okay. But let's say that we have the data already. We have the data in our computer and we have to work with it. What are the problems? The first one is that sometimes we download the information, but there were missing features, And when there is administrative units, you see the holes and you can call the data provider and say, listen, I think you are missing something. But when there are, hydrography or any other kind of data, you can be working with data with missing features. Imagine, you can do a really bad study. Another issue is that the scale, it should tell you the definition, the accuracy, the detail of the information, but it does not always work. No matter you have everything perfect, expired compliance and everything, and you download and you access, there is always something about the local point of view. The administrative units from Germany are completely different from the ones of Spain or Lithuania. So even with that, the semantic harmonization, yesterday we were saying about the geometric connections, and we were comparing axis of the rails with the rails. Again, the organization of data sets. One data provider can say, here you are, all my administrative units, and the other says, here you are, the level 1 all administrative units, and then level 2 and then level 3, different files, for example. And another one is that you have one GML for each municipality, for example. So the same information can be exposed to the user in many different ways. So we need that harmonization part as well. And then, of course, like any other informatic part, the version of the schema, version 1, 2, 3, or whatever. More typical challenges. You work with data types. If they are numbers, they are alphanumeric. When you are trying to put it in a geodatabase, there are those problems. The empty values, you know the difference between empty, null, blank, is everything nearly the same, but informatically speaking, is a problem. Okay, you see the difference between borders, but it's not a real challenge. For many users, this is great that both countries are, topologically they are not 100% right, but there are good connections. And once the other country is publishing it, the neighbor country can check and say, listen, there is a problem here. For example, this is a different scale, but you can say that this is really good alignment. Licensing. In the INSPIRE conference, there was this talk about from this one from JRC, 800 different licenses in Europe till they just get tired about counting and they stopped counting different licensing. That is a problem. And of course, the GML is very tricky, but once you know it, it's very useful, as we saw yesterday in the case of Spain, for example. That's all from the technical issues.
Okay. Yeah. Let me be quick. The reason why I'm here is, and maybe you all know that, the reason why I'm here is that the EA has been asked by the Commission to coordinate what we call the Copernicus in situ component. So actually what we try to do is to work across the services and find in situ data they need to do their work. So this study is part of that. Member states, when we go to the Copernicus user committee, user forum and the Copernicus committee, they always tell us, please use our data. And that's actually what we try to do here. We try to stitch together INSPIRE compliant data from all over Europe into one pan-European product that can be used by the services. We also try to make these data sets available individually through what we call the Copernicus Reference Data Access Portal, also called CORDA. Another way that we try to make these data useful for the Copernicus services. So again, what I'm saying is that the use case is clear, but we of course face some challenges, and of course, I mean, we all need to work on these challenges. But if the data are there, we are willing to do something extra to put these data together, because we know that's necessary. We cannot expect that if the data are available from all countries, we can simply put it together without any problems. And that's fine. I mean, we are willing to do this extra activity to really construct this pan-European product. And I think I'll stop with that. And I hope, of course, that you will provide all the questions, all the answers, of course. So,
yeah, just a quick question. You said that, just to be sure I heard properly, you said that EA is going to do this work of compiling the member states INSPIRE data sets into pan-European data for all INSPIRE things?
I mean, yeah, no, not for
but
all.
Just because you said many times in your presentation that many things were clear, but it's not very clear, I think.
No, but I mean, okay, so let's make it clear then. I mean, what we try to do is to work from the requirements of the Copernicus services. So when the services, if they tell us, okay, now we need access to transport network, we need access to administrative units, or we need access to hydrography, which is a clear use case and something we work on right now. Then we try to find the data, to stitch the data together and find a way to maintain this data set and make it available to the services. And we realize that we need to do something extra on top of what you already do at national level. We realize that, and that's what we try to do.
Yes, you were speaking about some use case for hydrography or transport. So for us, of course, as data provider, it's really important to be sure that if we improve and bring more quality on our data, we can fit for purpose. So I wonder about, have you better information? Will it be published soon, or so that we can be more informed of what you need specifically?
I mean, for the moment, what we try to do, apart from, I mean, we try to update this data set that you have seen. I mean, the data set about administrative units, we are not there yet. I mean, we need some extra data. So that's one thing. Another thing is that we have a clear request from the Emergency Management Service. We would like to get some hydrography data from all over Europe. So that's actually where we focus right now. But there are many other use cases.
And technically speaking, what they are asking for is just a nice scale, and that's all. And if you can give me the name. So it's not that they are asking for really high standards or really high requirements, and the member states need to work specifically on that. They just need the rivers, categorize it with permanent waters or water bodies and all of that, and that's all. For now, they I mean, as much the better, but technically it's not that problem.
I think what we can offer is actually, I guess there's an email list to all the participants. I mean, we can clearly describe what we need, and we can send it to you. I mean, that's and also, I mean, let me also stress one thing is that we are not trying to redo what has already been done. So when we talk about other initiatives like OpenELS, ELS, and so on, I mean, we are following them, and we try to, and if possible, of course, we will reuse those solutions. We are not trying to invent the wheel again or trying to redo what they do. So actually, we have also made an evaluation of ELS, and we are going to talk about OpenELS as well. So, I mean, we are very open. What we would like to do is to make these data available to the services because they need them.
I had a question on the vision of what would be an harmonized pan-European product, and based on the INSPIRE data service. And do you consider that you need to have the INSPIRE data service in every country to contribute to this pan-European product, or are you considering also that maybe if some countries the INSPIRE data service are not available, you will do the job of completing the picture with third parties data?
Yes, that can we do it. If there is INSPIRE, it's much easier, because you read it and you know the names of the fields, you know how it is. But if it's not available at INSPIRE, it has to be really well documented. I mean, it has to be the data model. Imagine, I don't know, any country, they give you the data. With the data only, you cannot work with it. And I'm saying it from my own country, my own region. If you don't know what the data is, you cannot do, how do you say, in reverse engineering, trying to guess what is what. So, can we use it if there is not INSPIRE? Yes, but it has to be really well documented, with really good documentation explaining what is what. I mean, at the end, some data specifications like the INSPIRE ones. So if there are data specifications, yes, we can use it. If there is no data specifications, we cannot be guessing what means what.
But of course, I mean, we're not going to do what is actually what we expect the member states to do. So I mean, we're not creating INSPIRE data sets. But of course, I mean, to fill a gap, I mean, yes, I mean, we could look at that. The main thing is that we hope to get access to INSPIRE compliant data because really it makes our life easier and it makes sense. I think also what you're struggling to find is really clear-cut European level use cases. And here we have one, very clear one actually. And the thing is that we, I mean the EA, our contractors, we would really like to work with you to find these data, to put it together. And it's not only about making the data available in some way to the services. In some cases, they have requirements as well. They would like to download the data. They would like to have the data available on their system. So it's not always about VMS services. It's also about, I mean, having the data in the production system. For example, you can imagine that the emergency management service, they need to produce within a very few hours. They need to come up with a product. So they cannot, at that point in time, try to find all the data they need. I mean, they need it in their system. So that's also part of what we try to do.
It's not so much a question, but maybe part of the solution. I have seen you issue about data quality, and in IGN regarding validation, we don't validate only against conformity to INSPIRE, but also against source data to ensure that we have not lost, for instance, features or attributes, and that the correspondence are what they should be. And really, this validation was useful because we discovered some errors, not so much, but enough to be worth the validation phase. So probably it's something also that should be encouraged, not only checking conformity to INSPIRE, but also ensuring the quality of the transformation.
Yes, of course. When you start using the data, you get that small quality issues. But for now, we are working fine. I want to show just this one. This is a map of administrative units. From the data got straight away from the national mapping agencies, official, and with the scale 5,000. Really accurate. And all the borders are fine. I mean, it's great, and you can do this in 1 day, getting the information from the member states, if it is available.
I think also I have to say that the experience we have is also when we raise a problem with the data provider. I mean, we can work together to find a solution. So usually we get a quick response and we find a solution to the problem and we move on.
I had one last question. It's the vision of the European Environment Agency is to ensure that the Commission will have proper product for this environmental policies monitoring and so on. Just, if I understand correctly, and this was why we launched the Covenant cover and all this stuff. So when we talk about having an harmonized information product, do you also consider that if you have to somehow establish a contract with someone who can sign the contract and that will commit to provide a further version 1 year after, so that you will have a follow-up in time and a sustainable infrastructure? How do you handle the fact that in EMA, for instance, so depending on the country, maybe it's not always the same contractor you can gather and so on. So how do you handle this necessity to identify several bodies that can make commitments? I am also thinking of we hear of OpenStreetMap, for instance. When for instance, we tried to have a project with OpenStreetMap, and it was interesting but challenging to identify who will sign and who will commit, and at the end, the person. We couldn't do the job because he left, changed jobs, so we had to find another solution, and yet we need to learn to work with these new contractors.
I think, first of all, I mean, when we talk about Copernicus, or let me start in another place. I mean, when we do this work, of course, I also talk to my colleagues at the European Environment Agency about how they use INSPIRE, and I mean also if these data can be of use to them and all that. So that's clear. But here, in fact, what we talk about is a Copernicus use case. And the main thing about Copernicus, as you probably already know, the main thing is that Copernicus is a long-term commitment, it's an operational service, and of course the question you raise about how are we going to maintain this in the future. We are not going to maintain the data at national level. I mean, we expect to get the data from the member states. But what we try to do is to create a structure that allows us to maintain this product in the future. So whenever there is an update from one of the member states, we will include it in the product. We will have contact to the different data providers. We will keep in touch with them and all that. I mean, that can we do. So you need to see that we work at a certain level. We try to put together data sets made available at national level, and we will also strive to maintain this data set in the future. I mean, that's clear. It's not a one-off thing. It's really something that we hope and expect will continue in the long run, because Copernicus is a long-term investment, has a long-term vision, is an operational program, so we need to do that.
So one last quick question.
One. I'm coordinating the implementation of INSPIRE in Cadastre, the Netherlands. And my board director is in UNGGIM Global. Doreen Belmaier, perhaps you know her. It would help me if I would know that the INSPIRE data is being used. It would help me to know a reason why something has to be adapted, changed, modified. It motivates the product managers within my company to run. If they don't know why, if they don't know if the data isn't used, they only concentrate on national products and national needs. Is there a contact on regular basis between Copernicus, EEA, Eurostat, one of the prime users, and JRC or ELS, and could we get some feedback from it? It would help me.
First of all, yes, we work together. So we are in contact with JRC, Eurostat. We talk about these things. We inform them about what we do. They have the report. So yes, I mean, definitely there's work, coordination work going on. I realized also what you say is, I mean, please, I mean, make it very, very visible that our data is actually being used. I mean, and that's actually also what we try to do. I mean, that is actually, that's what we try to do today. That's what we try to do at the INSPIRE conference. I mean, in other places, in the Copernicus committee, user forum. But the main thing is that we need to have a very, very good example, and we are still struggling to get the pieces into one showcase. One showcase, yeah. So there's this. I think we can actually do some very, very useful things here. And also, as I said and stressed very much, and I know that we need to do something on top of what you do. I mean, we cannot expect everything to automatically be put together. I mean, so and we are willing to do that, and we are willing to also to look at this important question about how to maintain the data set in the future. But still, we face quite a lot of barriers, and the main one is really about availability. I'm sorry to say, but I hope that this will improve. I expect it will improve, and then we are ready.
Thank you very much.